These phones have slowly been improving over the years, but this generation is by far the best of these devices and ones that I absolutely do recommend to many looking for a new smartphone. They can pretty much do all of it these days, so there's no real need to deviate unless you're after something very particular. So let's waste no more time and talk about that. Hey guys, I'm Ryan Thomas, and have you noticed a strong uptick in not only interest but online coverage of phones that don't cost an arm and a leg? It's something that I've been doing a lot more of recently, and I think we're all better off for it. I have expressed my respect and fascination in the oddballs, the Nothing 3A series, the Pixel 9a, the OnePlus 13R, and there are heaps of others to choose from as well, because this segment really feels like it's getting stronger by the minute. Because out and out flagship smartphones, the ones that you see the most coverage on online, aren't always the best option. They used to be far and away the safer choice thanks to having markedly more substantial hardware like cameras, bigger sensors, way better displays including higher resolutions and refresh rates. They used to have considerably faster charging, way longer software support, and that way you might be spending a lot more, but you'd definitely be able to hold onto your phone a lot longer by going for the flagship options. And extrapolated out, you might actually end up saving money going for that higher end option. And whilst there's still a very strong case to opt for the buy once, cry once strategy, it's not the lights out best option anymore. There have been a couple of pivotal devices that have steered the market towards this healthy new position. Mid-rangers always used to come with subpar cameras, slow internal performance components, and on the outside they also felt very cheap and nasty. These days that's simply not the case. The Pixel 3a really showed the world that mid-rangers didn't need to come with laggy and cumbersome software, as the real goal for this phone was for Google to get the most amount of people to run the Pixel experience, and to get the Pixel experience itself into more hands and pockets. It also fought the stigma on cut down models taking rough and poor quality photos, as even though the hardware wasn't exactly cutting edge, the software was able to do enough heavy lifting to deliver photos that I recently compared to the Pixel 9 Pro, and honestly, I was shocked at just how close they were. This one was a massive deal. OnePlus has been doing its R-line thing, Samsung its A-line, Nothing has popped up with its own mid-range offerings, and offshoot CMF doing some very spicy things right now. And in 2025, we've come to a point where the OnePlus 13R, the Pixel 9a, the Nothing 3a Pro are all exceptional devices in their own right, and they lead the line on these phones that cost half the amount of a true flagship, but don't offer half the experience. They do much more than that. Like I spoke earlier this year about, actually, on the whole, I think I prefer the OnePlus 13R to the full fat 13. It offers so much for the money, especially in the US, where that phone is by far the best deal, and you simply don't get that with more expensive models. The alert slider is great to have, I must say. OnePlus is constantly improving Oxygen OS, and the sheer performance, the battery life, the charging tech, the hardware that you get in that phone wipes the floor with basically everything from Apple, Google and Samsung, even in phones that cost double the amount of money. And since that stuff is so good, it should mean that long-term ownership of something like a 13R into the third, the fourth, even the fifth year is much easier to deal with, since the hardware was already great out of the box. The cameras, even from the company that doesn't even claim to have the best cameras on a smartphone, are really good this year, even without that camera brand color partnership that we often talk about with other OnePlus phones. I've been seriously impressed by the 13R this year. The Pixel 9a takes a slightly different approach, but still delivers that high-end feeling for sure. I've talked about how much I think there is a massive step up in hardware quality between the 8a and the 9a, and especially when it comes to battery life and the feeling in the hand. But combine that improved internal specification with the screen that has seemingly been ripped straight off the much more expensive Pixel 9, a display I have vouched for, it is superb, and then top that off with software support that takes this $499 phone into 2032, and you get something that is really hard to match when it comes to just overall value for money. And given Google already extended the Pixel 6's software support already, it feels like this company is actually going to live up to these promises, and it's not just a flash in the pan moment. The 9a is an incredibly well-rounded device. It doesn't try to do the flagship killer thing with performance, but it still easily is able to compete with its comprehensive list of specs and features. It's also not huge, which makes it a viable option for more people. And the Nothing 3A and 3A Pro are up there with my phones of the year. Sure, their performance is a little weak, but the designs, the camera hardware, the battery and charging tech, and in particular the quirky and lightweight software are serious reasons to go for those models. I'm a big fan of the Essential Space Key as someone who takes a shed load of notes and is constantly having to write stuff down. Having that built into the phone is huge for me, although I do recognise that for many it is simply a gimmick. This is an option for the more fashion conscious or maybe contrarian who doesn't want to follow status quo and instead wants a great all-round platform that takes a more unique route. And the Unlock bootloader, which enables custom software loading down the road, is a seriously cool addition from the guys over at Nothing, who is doing a madness in this market segment, by the way. I mean, the CMF brand honestly look fantastic. They do buds, they do phones. I haven't had a chance to really get hands-on with all of this stuff, to take any of it for a real spin, but from what I've seen, I'm very impressed. And a little bit of a side note, but I've been running the Nothing Buds 2 over the last year. I've been seriously impressed by those things. To be clear, I'm not calling mid-range phones the only options or objectively better than the flagship counterparts, and definitely last year's flagship is still very much a great option. But I do feel like more now than ever, there is a serious reason to go for the cheaper options, and I've only touched the surface in this video of my favourite options, but there are heaps of different devices depending on your budget, maybe more importantly, the market and region that you're in. There are some devices that are nigh on impossible to get in certain markets, and part of the value factor for me has to be the ability to return and repair and get a warranty on your device, which are things that are clearly an option for some and not for others. It's far from ideal to import a smartphone. And I mean, Apple's iPhone 16e is hardly an ideal option either. It lacks a lot of what made the options I've mentioned in this list particularly great, but does mid-range its own way, I guess. And if people want to spend their money on that thing, power to them. I'm not going to complain. It's not me who has to put up with the specifications of that thing, but for a lot of iPhone users, specifications don't really matter, do they? Mid-range smartphones just became elite, and when someone asks for a smartphone recommendation, I instantly turn to the healthy mid-range market segment that seems to be strengthening by the day. A crucial price range where more people are buying than you think. Guys, let me know in the comments how you feel about mid-range smartphones. Are you remotely interested? And if so, what is your current pick for the best mid-range smartphone out there? If I had to pick one, it would be difficult, but honestly, I think I'd go for the Nothing 3A Pro purely because I just love the software and I do like that Essential Key. The cameras on it as well, like the 3x telephoto on the Pro is fantastic. Anyway, whilst you're down there in the comments, be sure to hit like if you enjoyed today's content and subscribe to never miss another upload. Thank you all so much for watching. I've been Ryan Thomas and I will catch you later. Cheers.